Easter eggs for a Judge Dredd game? Am I just reaching here? Let me explain.
Join the fight with no countdown.
So I got a bit of a theory that I wanted to throw out there and see what the thoughts are. Leave what you think in the comments. But I've done a video before to Teyon Games, one of the main developers developing some awesome like retro kind of 80s, 90s games such as Robocop, which you've seen on the channel, which is an amazing game. And they've got Unfinished Business Part 2, essentially an add-on to the game, but a standalone. So it's like a short game Part 2, which is on NCD's purchase list. But in the whole time, in real time, are they dropping Easter eggs for a Judge Dredd? Wow. I did a video before my response to Teyon and they commented. And in that video, I suggested you guys need to do a Judge Dredd because you got Robocop so on the money. Been involved in other games before, like, you know, Rambo and stuff like that. And I said, someone needs to make a Judge Dredd. Are they admitting, look, we're dropping Easter eggs, you're just not seeing them? So in a recent trailer for what Robocop's, one of the lines in the game is, we're not judges, we're not executioners. And I'm just got me thinking, are they saying they're working on one? Because if you look at the new poster to the new Robocop game, Unfinished Business, okay? Let me break this down for you. It's essentially the old adage of good guy goes into a tall building, high-rise block, whatever you want to call it, has to make its way to the top to the end boss who sits at the top of the tower. Is actually a really old concept from, you know, many, I think Judge Dredd did it in a mega city block before. You can actually go far back as like Game of Death with Bruce Lee, although it was never really fully finished because unfortunately he passed at the time of kind of making that one, and most of it was done but not all. The premise there was get past each level, and each level you go up, you fight a harder and harder boss to get to the top. Amazing concept because it's action-packed all the way. Now, well, who's done it before and why does it link into Judge Dredd? Well, check this out. Check this out. It's on display in the cabinet, this one. So this is one of my favourite movies of all time in terms of the action sphere. Can you see that? That is a movie called The Raid. And if you've never seen this thing, holy shit, you need to see this. You need to see this movie if you've never seen it. Essentially a group of, you know, cops, a SWAT team, one main protagonist in it, but they have to make their way to the top of this bad guy owned tower, to keep it simple, and it's phenomenal. It's mainly a martial arts based film, but that is it. You've got to see that. Put that on your watch list. Let's leave that there for a minute. But that film is just a non-stop. I mean, they pull up to the block as the film starts. I mean, come on, you've got to see this movie. But it's been done before, and one of the films that did it was Dredd. So take a look at these three covers here for the either movie and or game. Predominantly movies because we're looking at Judge Dredd and The Raid. Dredd, which came after the Sylvester Stallone one, is actually, in my opinion, one of the most underrated movies of all time. It's actually an incredible film, but because the Stallone one, and by the way, Stallone's always going to be a hero to me, so he's almost not got a bad movie to me personally, but come on, Judge Dredd by Stallone was abysmal when you look at it compared to the comics, and it just didn't hit right. So not many people went to see this new Dredd a few years later, the Dredd 3D one, which, in all honesty, probably they lost faith because of the Stallone one, but it's actually, it pays homage to the comics beyond belief, and is an incredibly graphic and incredible film. Really good. And the guy who played him never took his helmet off, never smiled once, was, you know, ruthless. It's a tremendous movie. That should be on your playlist as well if you've never seen that. And what I suggested in that Teyon video was, you need to make a game based on that movie. Forget about just Judge Dredd, that movie. Pull up to the block like the movie The Raid, the moment the game starts, almost, and ridiculous layers you have to make your way to the top. Now, how does this all link together? Well, I was looking at it and thinking about it in more detail. And in the Robocop trailer, the main villain, so to speak, is a guy called Cassius. Big scar down his face. It really much echoes the villain from Judge Dredd movie, the Dredd movie, her name was Mama, and she had a very similar scar down the side of her face. And I was thinking, are they doing Easter eggs here? Are we looking at a trial of such a game for like a Dredd movie where you make your way to the top? Will it be any good? Because the new Robocop looks like it's built in that mold to go to the top of a tower, to get through an army, to get to the main villain at the top of the tower. And this could be like a little test, a little water test, a little litmus test. Let's throw this game out here, which will be a similar concept to Dredd, and see how it does and how it performs and how it operates and what the feedback is before we release such a game. I'm proper reaching and spitballing here off the top, but the trends look too, relevant to me to be misaligned. And by the way, that's what I would go with. If you've never seen Dredd, watch that first, then you'll understand why I'd like to see that as a concept, as a video game built for your older audiences like us here on the channel. Can't answer that right now. Absolutely amazing concept it would be. I mean, can you imagine just having the Dredd gun? Double whammy.
Double whammy.
And then the gun, you can select your different variations of guns.
Rapid fire. Rapid fire.
A Dredd game would just be superb. And I think it's like a concept to look almost like some Easter eggs being thrown out there, like it's coming. And by the way, if that happens, don't timestamp this video, share it around and say, look, he's right, he knows what he's on about. But those are, to me, little Easter eggs coming where I'm like, this game might be in production or certainly in the script phase, and it might be on the way. And if it is, it would be absolutely phenomenal. Because, as I said, don't want to just echo loads of thoughts here, but there's loads of things like it where this concept of, it's very simple. The outline and the narrative of it is very simple. Good guys start at the bottom of a tower, have to work their way through various levels to get to the bad guy at the top of the tower, make their way through stronger villains as they go up. It's like the ultimate hero story in terms of an action movie. And the plot to it is simple but effective. And sometimes that's what we want. And for us older gamers out there, especially 80s and 90s games and 80s and 90s movies especially, were more in that ilk.
Tell me you're good at this.
I'm the best.
We're talking when, Van Damme, Stallone and Schwarzenegger were the top of the tree, and these action movies just hit it at the park every time.
Now take your big stick and your boyfriend and find a bus to catch.
We just like, love this. I know they've come back a bit now in the last few years with Expendables and stuff, but it weren't the same as back then. So that's my kind of theory. Is this being Easter eggs being dropped right in front of us? Are these movie posters in correlation? Are they picking little things out of each one and going, we're going to make a Dredd game? Just thought I'd throw it out there. I thought it'd be an interesting concept to put into a video and say, that's my thoughts, timestamped of this date, whatever date this video drops. And in the next year or two, if one comes out, somebody can pull this video up and say, he was right. Maybe Teyon will go, are you on the developer team? Have you cracked what? How do you know this? Or maybe they'll go, no, it's way off. We can't get the IP to that. You're crazy. But you never know. I'm just trying to throw some thoughts in there and just say, why not? Why not? Conspiracy theories a little bit and all that in a reach. But that's it. I'm open to comments. Do you want to see a Dredd game? You're not that bothered. Do you think it would be a good game if they did it like the movie? Again, really, you need to see that movie before you comment in a way, just to get the context I'm on about. But, you can comment whatever you want. But also, totally separate, if you've never seen that, make sure you plan to see that somehow. Because that is on my elite movie list, okay? And we have a display cabinet for the most elite stuff only. And the Raid is up there. You've never seen in that cabinet because the camera don't show enough. The other one to it is a collector edition Armour of God. If anyone wants to see kind of my DVD collection or my movie knowledge, I did consider at points doing a movie channel because of my knowledge of some movies is quite good, especially in the martial arts world. But, never came to it. Gaming took over. But if anybody wants to see that or my thoughts on it, then just comment and I'll do that. If I get an overwhelming response, do some movie stuff, then I'll do it. But otherwise, not really. But yeah, that's kind of my succinct as I can version of a potential Dredd game coming. We'll see. Take care. Bye-bye.